She says it so casually you barely hear it. But behind that one sentence hides the truth about her attraction to you. She's not being friendly. She's not being polite. She's calculating, watching, hoping you catch the signal before she shuts it down for good. If you don't understand what that line really means, you're not just missing a moment, you're rejecting her without knowing it. And the worst part? She'll never tell you. You either get it, or you're out of her frame forever. Number 1. Why she'll never say it directly, but always signal it. This entire game, this confusing, exhausting, fascinating game of attraction, is not about what people say. It's about what they feel, but don't say. It's about the unspoken. And here's the real punch. When someone is attracted to you, they don't confess it. They leak it. In subtle body language, in sideways jokes, in low-toned comments you weren't trained to decode. They have to, because the cost of being direct is too high, especially for women. They know being too obvious could mean being judged, rejected, or worse, losing control of the moment. So they mastered a language most never get fluent in, the language of subtle seduction. You want to win? You want to know when someone wants more than just friendship or vibes? You must learn to read this unspoken language. Because in reality, it's always there. Every woman who's ever liked you gave off signals. You just missed them. She said it in her way, and you ignored it. Not because you're dumb, but because you were taught to wait for clarity instead of learning awareness. But clarity doesn't exist in the beginning. There's too much fear, too much risk. That's why she whispers it through jokes, through questions, through hesitation followed by laughter. And if you keep waiting for something obvious, she'll move on, thinking you're either blind or too safe. This is why people lose their shot, not because they weren't attractive, but because they didn't notice when someone was. The goal here isn't to become a mind reader, it's to become emotionally calibrated, to understand when a moment isn't just a moment, when that comment she made about how your trouble was actually her confession. When that pause after she said, "You smell good," wasn't casual, it was her body speaking truth before her mouth had the courage. What makes this worse is how society trains everyone to doubt themselves. You feel the energy. You know something is there. But then logic kicks in, and you talk yourself out of the signal. You tell yourself it was just friendly, just polite, just nothing. Meanwhile, she's sitting across from you wondering how someone so attractive could be so blind. And here's the part that hurts the most. She won't repeat it. She gave you the window. You didn't walk through. She's not going to beg you to notice. Because to her, if you were that man, you'd already have seen it. And if you didn't, she'll quietly close the door and tell herself you were never really what she thought you were. This is why you need to pay attention. This is why presence is power. Because attraction is fragile. It doesn't wait forever. And if you can't hold the weight of subtlety, you'll never be trusted with anything deeper. Number 2, the psychology behind indirect attraction. Directness has always been misunderstood. You were probably told to be upfront, to just say how you feel. That clarity is the key to attraction. But the truth is, that only works in theory. In real life, people are terrified of rejection, especially those conditioned to guard their emotions. They won't spell it out. They'll speak through implication. Stoicism doesn't teach suppression, it teaches awareness. That's where most get it wrong. A Stoic isn't silent because they don't care. They're silent because they're listening, observing, measuring what's real and what's reactive. They're anchored while everyone else is drifting. In attraction, this gives you an unfair advantage because you're not just waiting for permission. You're watching for the truth beneath the noise. And that truth is always there, hidden in her hesitation, her phrasing, her softness. When she says, "I don't usually do this," the average person thinks she's uncertain. A Stoic sees it as calculated vulnerability. That phrase isn't hesitation, it's an announcement. She's telling you, "I want to move forward, but I need to see if you'll honor the moment." If you miss it, if you treat her words as literal instead of layered, you collapse the tension she spent days, weeks, maybe even years protecting. You don't just lose a date, you lose trust. Not because you're a bad person, but because you couldn't carry the message she wrapped in silence. The emotionally impulsive person will either rush in too fast or freeze entirely. The Stoic holds ground, says less, feels more, reacts with intention, not excitement. This is where the red pill meets psychology. It's not about manipulation, it's about reading the battlefield before stepping on it. And when you move with clarity, calmly, fully present. You don't chase signals, you see them. You don't force attraction. You earn permission to explore it deeper. Every phrase she uses has layers. Every laugh has roots. Every pause has meaning. And when you live with Stoic clarity, you stop missing those moments. Because in this game, timing is everything. And most never even notice the clock is ticking. Number 3, 5 coded phrases that mean "I want you." Let's stop pretending that words mean what they say. They rarely do, especially when desire is involved. Words become camouflage. They become shields. And if you only hear what's said, you'll miss what's meant. These 5 phrases are not compliments, they're access points. If someone uses them around you, they've already imagined more. And they're giving you a map with missing pieces, daring you to complete the picture. You smell so good. This is never about cologne. This is about proximity, chemistry, intuition. They had to be close enough to even register your scent. And the fact they commented on it means they liked it. But more than that, it means they were close enough to imagine something deeper. Because scent bypasses logic and goes straight to memory and emotion. This isn't about hygiene, it's about hormones. When someone says this, they've already imagined what closeness with you feels like. It's not a compliment, it's foreplay in disguise. Your trouble. This isn't an insult, it's an admittance. You've shaken something in them. You've disturbed a stillness they were trying to maintain. And the comment isn't a warning. It's a release, a way to let you know you're dangerous to my self-control. That's not rejection. That's the greenest light you'll ever get. I don't usually do this, but you know why this one's powerful? Because it's layered with internal conflict. They've already decided, already crossed the line emotionally. This phrase is their way of telling you, "You made me feel safe enough to break my pattern." Don't treat this as hesitation. It's their request for you to lead and hold space for their vulnerability. It's getting late, but I don't feel like leaving. Translation: I'm trying to stay, but I don't want to be the one who asks. If someone wanted to leave, they would. They wouldn't frame it as a possibility. They'd make it final. That but is your invitation. That sentence is a door, wide open, waiting for you to walk through it. Gently, respectfully, but confidently. We should do this again. If it was just polite, they'd smile and disappear. But this isn't just let's be friends. It's a breadcrumb. They're testing whether you take initiative, whether you follow up, whether you match their energy. Don't mistake this for social fluff. It's momentum. And if you don't use it, it fades. Each of these phrases is a whisper inside the noise. And if you listen closely, you'll realize you've heard them all before. You just didn't know what they meant. What your trouble really says about your effect on her. Your trouble, it's said with a smile, a laugh, maybe a small shake of the head. But behind that line is one of the most transparent confessions of attraction a person can give without outright saying, "I want you." That phrase is laced with tension. It's not a statement of concern. It's a subconscious whisper of surrender. a verbal release of control wrapped in playful sarcasm. When someone calls you trouble, what they're really saying is, "You're making me feel things I didn't expect." And those feelings aren't always rational. That's what makes it scary and exhilarating. You've pierced their frame. You've stepped into the quiet part of their mind that imagines, wonders, fantasizes, the part they normally guard. They say it because they need to shift the blame. Not because they actually believe you're dangerous, but because they feel vulnerable around you. That vulnerability forces them to cope with the loss of emotional control. And that's where your trouble becomes their emotional firewall. It's a way to maintain face while still giving you a hint of the storm they're suppressing. This phrase shows up when you've done everything right without even trying. You stayed grounded. You didn't chase. You didn't overshare. You were simply present, and it destabilized their entire frame. You walked in with calm, and their emotional system couldn't reconcile it, so they call it trouble. The truth is, people are addicted to contrast. We're drawn to what throws off our balance, not what keeps us numb. And if you represent unpredictability, edge, or emotional gravity, you're not just interesting, you're magnetic. But most ruin the moment by reacting wrong. They either make a joke of it, which diminishes the tension, or they deflect awkwardly, killing the vibe. What you do instead is hold the energy. You let the silence hang. You let the weight of her words linger in the room. You make her sit in that emotional state for just a second longer. That's the difference between being remembered and being forgotten. The ones who fade are the ones who rush through moments. The ones who stay in someone's mind forever are the ones who feel the shift and don't flinch. So the next time someone looks at you and says, "You're trouble," understand what they're really saying is, "I don't know how to control myself around you." And the correct response isn't to apologize or explain. The correct response is to smile and say nothing. Number 4, her need for deniability, how female attraction protects itself. Attraction is never as simple as "I like you. Let's do this." Not in real life, not in the world people live in. For many women, and for anyone conditioned to fear judgment, expressing desire directly is dangerous. Not physically dangerous, socially dangerous. Reputation matters. Perception matters. People want connection without the risk of humiliation. That's why desire is almost always wrapped in deniability. Deniability gives them an out. If the moment doesn't go well, if they sense you didn't catch the hint or worse, judge them for it. They can walk away with their image intact. This is the emotional escape hatch. And every attraction signal comes built with one. This is why she won't say, "I want to stay over." She'll say, "It's getting late, but I don't feel like leaving." If you accept the invitation, she'll follow your lead. If you reject it or act confused, she'll pretend it wasn't serious and move on. And now, you're the one who failed the calibration test. She needs to be able to deny it if it backfires. That's not manipulation, it's protection. The emotional risk is too high. She doesn't want to be labeled desperate, thirsty, too easy. So she drops hints. She lays breadcrumbs. She waits for you to connect the dots. This is why people who constantly ask for directness lose. The game isn't direct. It's layered. It's poetic. It's emotionally coded. And if you demand clarity in the form of verbal confirmation every time, you miss the energy exchange. You miss the subtext. You miss the moment. You don't need words when you're tuned in to tone. When someone's saying, "You're bad for me," while smiling and standing closer, they're telling you everything. When they lean in during a goodbye, when their voice softens at the end of a sentence, when they ask questions that don't need answers, those are emotional signals. You were supposed to catch them. You didn't. And now they've pulled back. Attraction dies in confusion. It thrives in awareness. When someone feels safe being subtle, because you get it, they go deeper. But when their subtlety is missed or mocked, they lock down completely. Understand this. She needs deniability until she knows you're the kind of person who won't weaponize her honesty. And until then, every signal she sends is going to be coded. Your job isn't to decode every phrase, it's to feel the shift, to see the invitation behind the irony, to listen with your intuition, not just your ears. Once she knows you won't judge her for wanting you, that's when she stops hinting and starts acting. But that trust has to be earned, not demanded. You can't force it. You have to deserve it. Now let's summarize all of this into one. This entire journey, every phrase, every glance, every moment you used to think was random, they were all signals. And they weren't small. They were everything. You just didn't know what you were looking at. You smell so good. She was breathing you in, hoping you'd breathe her in too. Your trouble. She was admitting you cracked her frame. I don't usually do this, but she gave herself permission because you made her feel something worth breaking her pattern for. It's getting late, but I don't want to leave. She stayed because you stirred something she hadn't felt in a long time and didn't want to lose. We should do this again. She left the door open. And now you know. You should have walked through it. Every time someone hinted, tested, or paused a second too long, it was never small talk. It was the beginning of something. But society never taught you how to listen. School didn't teach this. Most parents didn't model it. You were sent into the world with eyes open and ears blind to the language that really matters. And now that you know, now that you've seen what's been hidden in plain sight, everything changes. You stop guessing. You stop chasing. You stop trying to figure out what she meant. Because now you understand the rhythm of her language. This is what separates men who beg from men who choose. This is what elevates people from confused to magnetic. And it all starts with this: learning how to recognize unspoken attraction. Understanding that if you're waiting for words, you've already lost. What you want is already being offered through movement, tone, energy, and coded language. Your only job now is to stay awake. When someone flirts indirectly, when they lean in but say less, when they tease and pull back, they're watching you. They want to know if you can carry the moment, if you see them without needing explanation. The second you pass that test, the mask drops. And what was once subtle becomes obvious. This is where it ends. But really, this is where it starts. You've been told for years that desire needs clarity. It doesn't. It needs trust. And now, with these tools, you have the ability to build it, one unspoken word at a time. Support this channel. Not for likes, not for views, for impact. You now understand what most never will. You see behind the curtain. You recognize the truth in moments that used to confuse you. That insight is powerful and rare. But others don't have it yet. And unless you help spread this message, they'll keep walking in circles, missing signals, losing connection, settling for surface-level relationships that never touch their soul. So if this opened your eyes, make it open someone else's. Like, comment, subscribe, share. This is how we change people's lives. This is how we reach the ones who are one insight away from seeing the entire game differently. If you believe in clarity, in presence, in decoding truth beneath the noise, stand with us. Support the channel, support the message, and let's wake the world up, one signal at a time.